suma todo dia. Dia de foronda com certeza, dia de todo finados e rumo tomado, para pedir gassalho na vizinhança.
Seen from the sky, Guinea-Bissau stands out as a place where the land and sea intermingle, where winding channels wind their way lazily through the mangroves in between islands. The meeting of land and sea gives rise to a rich and diverse natural environment in which the imprint made by man further accentuates the harmony of the landscapes.
A Guiné-Bissau é um pequeno país da África Ocidental com 36.125 km². Está limitado a norte pelo Senegal e também a Guiné-Conakry pelo sul e este. É um território composto por duas partes, uma parte terrestre ou continental e uma parte insular, que é o arquipélago de Bijagó, com 88 ilhas e ilhéus. A zona apresenta de norte a sul 7 grandes rios, e rios em forma de rias, com a penetração do mar. O mar penetra até 150 km no interior do continente, que precisamente é o limite do ecossistema do Mangal. É uma zona rica em biodiversidade, porque é uma zona que tem clima tropical úmido e seco, precisamente limitado por uma zona norte, mais ou menos tem um clima saeliano, no sul, na zona da Guiné-Conakry, com clima tropical úmido. Então, precisamente, a Guiné-Bissau fica situada nessa confluência. Esta característica climática determina uma variedade de ecossistema presente na Guiné-Bissau.
Savanna, dense forest, marshes, rivers, and coastal inlets are all productive habitats which have been used since time immemorial by the ethnic peoples of Guinea-Bissau. Indeed, the diversity of habitats is matched here by an equally broad diversity of cultures, and this combination of natural and cultural heritage forms the country's true richness. In order to preserve this dual heritage, Guinea-Bissau has decided to protect a representative set of the country's most important ecosystems. A national network of protected areas has therefore been set up in agreement with local populations.
As áreas protegidas na Guiné-Bissau representam 12% da superfície do território nacional. Parque de Cacheu, Parque Natural da Jagoa de Cofada, Parque Cantanhês, um conjunto de áreas protegidas marinhas dentro da reserva da biosfera do arquipélago de Bijagó, a área protegida marinha comunitária das Ilhas do Roque, Parque Nacional do Orango, Parque Nacional Marinho João Vieira e Polão.
Cacheu Mangrove Nature Park, located near the border with Senegal, was established to protect a sample of the coastal inlets that the Portuguese explorers named the Southern Rivers. In Cacheu, one can still find traces from the era when the city was the capital of Portuguese Guinea. The estuary is formed by a main channel and many smaller ones which branch off in a myriad of ramifications, which offer themselves as navigable waterways. The Rio is a tidal system. As the tide rises, nutrient-rich seawater flows into the maze of inlets, which fill up like a vast system of capillaries. The Rio Cacheu is lined with mangroves. The trees of this forest community can breathe through their aerial roots despite the muddy conditions and have the ability to eliminate salt through the surface of their leaves. The services provided by the mangrove forests of the southern rivers are significant. Their trees shelter the coastline from storms, and their roots provide protection from coastal erosion by consolidating sediment. They are highly productive and provide a wide range of natural resources to human communities. Wood, shellfish, crustaceans, and fish are plentiful, and rice is grown by a few indigenous groups who have learned to cultivate mangrove soils. Communities living near the Rio have adapted in remarkable ways to this unique environment. Their dwellings, which are built just out of reach of the highest tides, can be reached directly by pirogue. For men and women alike, the pirogue is the preferred means of transport, starting at a very early age. By protecting the Rio Cacheu, site of the region's largest mangrove stands, a critical breeding habitat for fisheries resources is also protected. The fisheries sector is strategically important both locally and nationally because it contributes directly to the country's food sovereignty. Moreover, the thousands of tons of shrimp and fish produced in the mangroves laid the foundations for fishing agreements between Guinea-Bissau and foreign fleets, agreements which account for nearly 40% of state income. The Bijagos Archipelago, located off the coast, offers up breathtaking natural scenery under the island's sun. With nearly 100 islands separated by channels and broad mudflats, which are exposed at low tide, it is the only deltaic archipelago on the West African coast. The vegetation that covers the islands is made up of mangroves, savanna, and palm groves, while its biodiversity features a number of emblematic species, including manatee, hippopotamus, sea turtle, sharks, and sawfish, as well as water birds. Only about 20 of the islands are inhabited by human communities, predominantly Bijagos. The remaining islands are used for rice farming or palm plantations, and several are sacred sites which are only used during certain ceremonies. The Bijagos economy is based on diversified use of natural resources. Palm trees provide several products, such as oil and palm wine. Rice is grown in the palm groves during the rainy season. It is painstakingly harvested ear by ear, then bound into sheaves and set out to dry before being stored in clay storehouses.
Sino catraíba maré sora no largo si baya alika kun kayani.
At low tide, while the women gather shellfish, the men fish for mullet under the watchful eyes of the birds.
Ikakubela ikakuremu bapudi do American kayano nariu anel kubonda teronda no patria mai bardade camarada oxolan cupinho de rumo alala na alma sinta de rebe.
In the Urak Islands, as in the rest of the archipelago, shellfish is the chief source of dietary protein. It may even be a factor in survival when rice stalks run out before the next year's crop has been harvested. It is also important from a cultural perspective, since certain species are used in traditional ceremonies. In recent years, fishermen from other parts have begun coming to the archipelago to harvest shells and fish for sale back home. These harvests have endangered some resource species.
No privikila pa bia sino disa qualquer gente para bem buscar é na explorando tudo eleva no cana tem é como no privilégio aquilo pa bia combe aquilo é uma alimentação tanto não tem fica tem e to já não está mal pa bia tá ajudando o tio que queria filhos tempo de chuva pa bia combe não tem não para queria filhos que o binho é não mais tá criando que ela assim tanto não tá criando filho que eu capuri de saber capa.
With support from the nationally based NGO Tinigenya and from EPAP, these communities have succeeded in setting up a community-managed marine protected area that safeguards their rights. Rules for resource use are revised with their participation through extensive dialogue which emphasizes the cultural dimension of biodiversity, a dimension which is very much present in the lives of this animist people. The sawfish, hammerhead shark, and hippopotamus masks that they wear during the ceremonial dances illustrate the importance of the biodiversity in the Bijagos belief system. Thanks to the steps taken to protect the Urak Islands, biodiversity is still abundant there, and species like the rare Atlantic humpback dolphin and large flocks of migratory water birds arriving from Europe can still be seen. The Orongo Islands Group, now a national park, is the richest in the archipelago in terms of biodiversity. Its ponds and temporary pools provide valuable habitat for birds, ducks, geese, spoonbills, and egrets, as well as for crocodiles. One of the most emblematic flagship species is the hippopotamus, which has developed the unique ability to live in salt water here, adapting over thousands of years to the gradual seaward shift of the ancient delta from which today's archipelago was created. During the rainy season, the hippopotamuses like to spend daytime hours in some of the temporary pools, where they engage in boisterous social behavior. When night falls, they disperse into the surrounding savanna to feed on grasses and are prone to wander into the rice paddies, where they cause crop damage and sometimes pose a danger to local residents. Aware that the situation was causing conflicts between the park and its human inhabitants, EPAP and partner organizations installed solar-powered electric fences to protect the crops from the hippos.
Pues para ver comida. Não está nem cá, não está trabalhando com a toja, piscabado. E está comendo arroz. É esse soco. E pudo. Porque a toja piscabado. E está falando de outro, e riba e dita. Tem paciência, continua conosco. Vou partir nesse soco. Não vai estar comendo. A dessa não quer trabalhar cedo, para ver como não trabalha na cal. Piscabado não vem para nós. É para só um cal pequenino. Piscabado lá ali. A da rio, daqui piscabado está ali. A mim está permanente, eu não assumi, está falando, Não está falando, O que não assumi, Pipo bem. Choco bisão. E casta. Tem paciência, bota na companhia na massa, vou precisar na custa. Para não precisar custa de comer. Com menino isso, não coitado. Angor é riqueza. Angor inteira não riqueza. Não coitado só na pecado, mas angor é rico.
As a way of allowing others to discover this biodiversity, the beauty of the islands, and the rich Bijagos culture, a 15-bed lodge which satisfies the essential criteria of ecotourism has been built near the main village.
La direction du projet, c'est la fondation CBT Habitat. Et elle gère non seulement l'hôtel, mais elle gère en plus une équipe d'assistants techniques qui travaille sur comment trouver la meilleure façon d'approcher les animaux sans les déranger, comment avoir un minimum d'impact sur l'environnement, et puis qui mène des activités scientifiques, du balisage, on a prévu du balisage d'hippopotames, du balisage de lamentins, du balisage de tarpons, c'est quand même des choses assez extraordinaires. Et parallèlement à ça, la mission de ces assistants techniques, c'est aussi d'identifier les micro-projets qui vont être réalisés avec les bénéfices dégagés par l'hôtel. L'idée, c'est de promouvoir un tourisme très respectueux et qui offre une contrepartie pour les populations résidentes.
Sino catraíba maré, sorano largo si baya. Alika kung kaya ning kurema, no fica no Rosia Costa.
Janviera Poilon Marine National Park was established to protect fishery resources and also the largest green turtle colony on the Atlantic coast of Africa. Like all other sea turtle species, the green turtle is endangered. Each year, on the beaches of Poilin Island, the female turtles lay up to 30,000 clutches of about 100 eggs per nest. Only 1 in 1,000 will survive to adulthood.
93.
As part of EPAP's tracking work, 10 females were fitted with satellite beacons. Tracking data showed that their migration route follows the coast toward Gambia, Senegal, and as far as Mauritania. Between the islands, sandbanks with ever-changing forms shaped by the currents are the favorite habitat of colonial waterbirds like royal and Caspian terns. A few relic-dense humid forest stands can still be seen in southern Guinea-Bissau, in the Cantañez region. In addition to their importance in relation to climate, they are exceptional biodiversity sites. Several dozen plant species inventoried there are used by the local communities for various purposes, especially in traditional medicine.
Alguém tem um problema de lepra, não está curado que esse. Esse. Aqui está falta de água. Falta de água no corpo. Não curado que esse. Se alguém vem riba de bom. Porque se maneira de trabalhar. E tem um problema de câncer assim, tio na cabeça. Por isso que o esse. Bula balkel ita calma. Esse bom cá de guarda e bom custa também para chuva. Se o cata na pó grande, chuva cata tem. E se vou chamar na tuji do kel, importante para o mundo. Matu capu de caba. Se matu caba, e câncer para o mundo. E que limare só, limare tem. Tudo custa tem na mato. Mensinho próprio que não trabalha aquele, mato e cada pessoa e para nós tudo. Na luta, lá que a gente fica na mato, toca luta acaba. Aquela manda mato e cada brincadeira mato e bom para não ter drito. Como não tem o olho, assim não tem não de brita não mato.
Animal diversity in these dense forests is remarkable and includes a number of high-profile species like elephant, buffalo, panther, and chimpanzee. Cantañez, like the Arango Islands, suffers from crop damage by wildlife. Here, it is the chimpanzees that eat bananas and oranges, sometimes causing conflicts between the national park and local communities. As a way of offsetting the drawbacks stemming from measures taken to protect the forests, development alternatives are worked out together with the populations and with the help of NGOs, in particular Acción para Desenvolvimiento. The response to the challenge of habitat degradation caused by slash-and-burn agriculture, the spread of monoculture cash crop farming, and charcoal production includes initiatives to promote local products like palm oil or to support mangrove rice farming with a view to relieving direct pressure on the forests.
Asim.
Support is also given to ecotourism initiatives that provide an alternative source of income while at the same time emphasizing the importance of the natural heritage. Kufara Lagoons Natural Park provides a good illustration of the services that ecosystems can deliver. It is a huge freshwater reservoir that fills up during the rainy season and feeds the groundwater tables of the entire region throughout the dry season. The nearby ponds and forests are also a major reservoir of biodiversity and resources which contribute to the livelihoods of communities within the park.
Qual tipo de pesca o apanha?
Bentana.
Bentana. Quantos pescadores que está pescando?
Na momento,
Ah.
é 7 ou 6.
6 pescadores
Sim, sim.
que está pescando. Então, nós não se pode pescar direito ali para por hoje a peixe. Para hoje a peixe, você tem que mudar que tipo de rídia, agora é outro tipo. Para ver a lagoa de boss. E se você mudar que rídia, agora mais hoje a peixe. Mas é outro rídia, bocata hoje a peixe. Para ver esta mata peixe pequenino, se está fazendo. Ali não can de dinheiro, mas não é de tão vida de gente que sai para por vir. Meios que chega, havia guardas, a área é muito grande e guardas e tem também distância grande para andar, de forma que meios que é suficiente. É que o governo cria parque para um sítio e reconhecido que chama um sítio Ramsar internacionalmente, de forma que ali também aves migratórias e tem animais búfalo, sinsim. E recentemente eu está ali dentro do parque, e penso até o momento, 2 elefantes, que é o momento ali é seguido para guardas, para esse movimento.
Aonde mar este leva minha reca do sonho.
Although a significant portion of these natural habitats and the country's biodiversity are protected within national parks, EPAP has to cope with constantly increasing pressures on the environment. Illegal fishing is one example. It is harmful because it leads to overexploitation of certain resources and causes habitat degradation. Fishermen from various countries set up camps and cut mangrove wood, which they use to smoke fish. They also catch sharks to supply the Asian shark fin trade. Enforcement is difficult and costly, especially in protected areas where resources are more plentiful and tend to attract outsiders. Industrial fishing vessels move into areas reserved for small-scale fishermen. where they either fish openly or pay pirogue fishermen to bring back their catches.
Sena leva minha recado soy. Sena leva minha segredo soy. Ipa aranha gente soy.
Pressure from agriculture is also increasing due to the development of cash crops such as cashew nuts. These crops sometimes require huge tracts of arable land and can have adverse impacts if they supplant forest or other biodiversity-rich ecosystems. Further pressure comes from the commercial exploitation of numerous natural resources, pollution from a variety of sources, and several mining and oil projects. Finally, further down the road, this seaboard and island country must prepare to face the consequences of global climate change. Biodiversity monitoring, enforcement, guidance to communities over approximately 12% of the country's surface area, EPAP's work to maintain healthy ecosystems is complex and requires considerable human and financial resources. While it receives support from the government and a number of partners, its funding is presently inadequate and, more importantly, unsustainable. The most effective mechanism for meeting its funding needs is encapsulated in the principle of the Trust Fund.
Sabemos que na Guiné-Bissau as áreas protegidas funcionam com financiamento externo e não podemos contar com esse financiamento externo para toda a vida. Aí a pertinência de criar essa fundação para garantir a durabilidade, porque os fundos postos nos bancos estrangeiros poderão gerir interesse e daqui a muitos anos esses fundos poderão ser utilizados e capitalizados na gestão das áreas protegidas na Guiné-Bissau. Já criamos a fundação, que se chama Fundação Bioguiné. É uma fundação criada para poder assegurar a longo prazo o financiamento das áreas protegidas da Guiné-Bissau.
E era dia suma todo dia de foronda com certeza.
According to international statistics, Guinea-Bissau is one of the world's poorest countries. This means that the diversity of its resources and the services provided by its ecosystems are all the more crucial to the livelihoods and food sovereignty of its population. The impressive efforts made by Guinea-Bissau to preserve its natural and cultural heritage are therefore essential to achieving sustainable development. They are in keeping with the commitments of the Convention on Biological Diversity and the Millennium Development Goals, and they are also in line with the interests of the international community with respect to fisheries, tourism, extractive industries, or even simply in relation to shared migratory species. Guinea-Bissau, whose global ecological footprint is extremely small, wants to continue to be one of the pioneering countries that protect life on the planet for future generations.
dia, suma todo dia. Dia de foronda com certeza, dia de todo finados de beleza. Rumo tomado, para pedir gassalho na vizinhança.
Seen from the sky, Guinea-Bissau stands out as a place where land and sea intermingle. This meeting of land and sea gives rise to a rich and diverse natural environment in which the imprint made by man further accentuates the harmony of the landscapes. These unusual geographic conditions have produced a wide variety of ecosystems which have been used since time immemorial by indigenous peoples. Indeed, the diversity of habitats is matched here by an equally wide diversity of cultures, and this combination of natural and cultural heritage forms the country's true richness. In order to preserve this dual heritage, Guinea-Bissau has decided to protect a representative set of the country's most important ecosystems. Mangroves, which cover 8% of the country's surface area, play a decisive role in coastal protection and natural resource production. Cashew Mangrove Natural Park was established to protect the production of fisheries resources, which are of critical importance both for the national economy and local communities. The Bijagos Archipelago is an internationally important natural and cultural monument. Within the Biosphere Reserve set up by UNESCO, 3 marine protected areas were created in order to preserve the most sensitive sites in terms of resources, biodiversity, and cultural heritage. Their universal value prompted the authorities to propose that the archipelago be listed as a World Heritage Site. Guinea-Bissau's last remaining dense forests, located in the south, in Cantanhede National Park, are important for the conservation of the climate and biodiversity alike. The plant species they shelter are widely used, most importantly in the making of traditional medicines.
Salgin bin riba bo. Bukasi maneira de trabalhar. E tem problema de câncer assim kiu na cabeça. Por ko baes bula balkel ita calma.
Several high-profile wildlife species are an asset that can be used to develop ecotourism, which will benefit the park and its inhabitants. Kufara Lagoons Nature Park provides a good illustration of the services that ecosystems can deliver. It is a huge freshwater reservoir that fills up during the rainy season and feeds the groundwater tables of the entire region throughout the dry season.
Que bota que canto pescadores que está pescando.
Na momento,
Ah,
é 7 ou 6.
6 pescadores
Sim, sim.
que está pescar. Então, nós não se pode pescar direito ali para por hoje peixe. Para hoje peixe, você tem que mudar que tipo de rídia, agora é outro tipo. Para ver a lagoa de boss. E se você mudar que rídia, agora mais hoje peixe. Mas é outro rídia, bocata hoje peixe. Para ver esta mata peixe pequenino, se está fazendo.
Biodiversity monitoring, enforcement, guidance to communities in protected areas, which together cover 12% of the national service area, EPAP's work to maintain healthy ecosystems is complex and requires considerable human and financial resources.
Mas eu sei que mais uma área reservada. Quem te cadê para pescar na metade? É.
While it receives funding support from the government and a number of partners, its funding is presently inadequate and, more importantly, unsustainable. The most effective mechanism for meeting its funding needs is encapsulated in the principle of the trust fund.
Sabemos que na Guiné-Bissau as áreas protegidas funcionam com financiamento externo e não podemos contar com esse financiamento externo para toda a vida. Aí a pertinência de criar essa fundação para garantir a durabilidade, porque os fundos postos nos bancos estrangeiros poderão gerir interesse e daqui a muitos anos esses fundos poderão ser utilizados e capitalizados na gestão das áreas protegidas na Guiné-Bissau. Já criamos a fundação, que se chama Fundação Bioguiné. É uma fundação criada para poder assegurar a longo prazo o financiamento das áreas protegidas da Guiné-Bissau.
E era dia suma todo dia de foronda com certeza.
According to international statistics, Guinea-Bissau is one of the world's poorest countries. This means that the diversity of its resources and the services provided by its ecosystems are all the more crucial to the livelihoods and food sovereignty of its population. The impressive efforts made by Guinea-Bissau to preserve its natural and cultural heritage are therefore essential to achieving sustainable development. They are in keeping with the commitments of the Convention on Biological Diversity, and they are also in line with the interests of the international community with respect to fisheries, tourism, extractive industries, or even simply in relation to shared migratory species. Guinea-Bissau, whose global ecological footprint is extremely small, wants to continue to be one of the pioneering countries that protect life on the planet for future generations.
Dias antes de consumir sua bacatela na terra.